Hi YouTubers, it's another video here from your friendly neighborhood reviewer, Evelyn. So I have a lot of things that I want to say for this series. I just finished watching the 8-part series in Netflix called My Name. It's a Korean TV show. The main star is So-hee. I have notes down here to make sure that I pronounce some of the names. She plays the protagonist known as Yoon Ji-woo. The first episode starts off with her in the flashback scenes in the high school. Her dad's got missing. It's inferred that she's the daughter of a gangster. And well, it's an interesting series. It's an 8-episode series that the story has to develop quite quickly, so it reaches its climax at the end. I just finished watching it yesterday. So the first episode, just series around flashback, what happened with her life. She's alone, people bully her, she's had enough, and then she goes back home and she calls her dad angrily saying that if you don't come back, I'm going to renounce you as my dad. So we see the dad, played by, if I can find the name here, Kyung-ho. He plays the character Yong Dong-hoon. I'm learning Korean also, so don't slander me for the name. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm learning Korean, so I can understand the names and the kind of premise behind some of these shows. So the dad comes back. He wants to at least talk to his daughter, try to rectify things, but the dad ends up being brutally murdered at the doorstep, where he ends up being shot. And the girl's right behind the other door trying to open up the door, trying to save her dad. And then after that we have the funeral scene where this head gangster guy called, the character name is Cho Mu-jin, played by Park Hee-soon. So those actors, I haven't seen them in other K shows, but I have seen Han So-hee in the other drama Nevertheless, also on Netflix. And the gangster guy comes to the funeral and tells her that her dad was his right hand man. If there's anything you need, come to me. And since the girl has nobody, the main character called at the time Yoo Ji-woo, she goes to the gangster guy saying, okay, if my dad was really that close to you, I want you to help me get revenge. And at first the gangster's leader is like, no, I don't want to, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to do that. And then she goes off, with wanted posters, more information, and then she ends up getting assaulted, and the lead gangster guy goes and saves her. And then he goes and puts her with all the other guys there for her to train. And then as the episodes progress, we see her having to take her good fair share of hits, being almost raped by one of the other antagonists. And then the other antagonist sets up as another bad guy. So let's get let's find the other antagonist's name, called Do Ganje, who ends up, flash forward, being a pretty bad guy. Deals drugs and all of that, because the main leader, Cho Moon-jin, goes and I thought he should have killed him. If this gonna be a gangster mafia type, you just don't half kill somebody and that person ends up with vengeance. So he ends up slicing this guy's face. And what we find out, even though that the leader tries to tell Yoon Ji-woo, are you sure you want revenge? Are you sure, no matter what the price? And she says, yeah. So we get to the premise why the show is called My Name, and he ends up giving her a false identity known as Hye-jin, and she ends up going into the police force as false papers and everything, with the premise of her trying to find her dad's killer, because the main leader guy goes and gives a gun that they found at the crime scene was apparently a police officer's gun. So she ends up going undercover so we get a flash forward 4 years, little montage scene with her being in the police force, the uniform, and then she ends up climbing to narcotics, the main place. And then we get introduced to the team. The captain, the character's name, Cha Gi-ho, played by the actor Kyung-ho. That's the leader there. And then we have the other ones, and then we have this other guy, John Pildo, that ends up being put together with the girl. So as the series evolves, we're left with the mystery around it, who killed the girl's dad was a dirty cop in the force. And then as the series progresses, it had to since it's 8 episodes, the story had to progress rapidly. So each episode was getting to the point until when we discover that not everything is as it seems, because the captain of the narcotics team, Cha-gi-ho, there was something about him that I knew that he was having vengeance against the mafia guy, the leader guy, Cho Moon-jin. That this kind of vengeance, it was inferred that this guy, the leader, the captain, whatever, went and killed the girl's dad for reasons that I'm going to explain. So spoiler warning. It turned out that the dad of the girl was actually an undercover cop all these years. He was undercover as the right-hand guy of the leader of the gang, Cho Moon-jin. And then I knew it, I kind of knew because something was going on. The captain was talking about this other guy who died undercover, and it turned out that the girl's dad was this guy that died. And we get that big shocking surprise that actually the leader of the gang killed the dad once he found out that he was betrayed. The leader of the gang, they made him look very sympathetic. He didn't really want to kill the girl's dad, but since he betrayed them, and that's how it is in the code of the mafia, you have to kill whoever betrays you. If not, you're seen as weak. But then again, he still lies to the girl, saying, "Oh no, your dad was a police officer, but he became one of us." And then he kind of eggs her on to kill off the captain of the narcotics team. So she goes down to the place and finds out that the mafia guy's other henchman, his other right-hand guy, goes and stabs the captain so many times. And that's when we get the climax, or the part where the captain realizes that she's the daughter of his colleague that died. And he goes and exposes the truth. He gives her all the letters that dad was never turned. He was giving police reports right up to the end of his death, and she ends up realizing that she got played. That the mafia guy was kind of used her as his tool to get back at the captain for implanting an undercover cop. So she ends up realizing, what happened. That she ends up there's a scene where she ends up violently pulling over, vomiting, realizing that she was duped. She went and killed the other antagonist, the guy who tried to rape her also in the series. But then again, the last episode, I just think it kind of devolved into a little bit of unrealistic things. We get the quick, night of passion between John Pil-do and Yoon Ji-woo, and then after that, the thing of revenge, that she was gonna turn herself in. The real shocking part is when John Pil-do and Yoon Ji-woo were in the car going to the police station. Right opposite the police station, he gets shot in the head by one of the henchmen mafia. Shot right in the head while him and the girl were in the car, and I'm thinking, oh my god, it was just out of nowhere. So it's truly what they say, with revenge you have to dig 2 graves, one for yourself and one for the other person, because in these types of things nobody ever comes out clean. So in that moment where these things that she was going to do revenge, she was going to go by the law, she was forced to have to escape. And then there's that ultimate showdown where she goes to the boss's place, the boss of the mafia, Cho Moon-jin's headquarters, and you get a raid style type of going in. She has a gun, maybe 12 bullets, and she's there beating up so many guys and so on. And then when it comes to the ultimate fight between her and the boss, we can kind of see the boss went out of his head. He was resigned to being he wanted to die. I think he had enough of the mafia life. So they had the showdown between each other where she's literally cut up to shreds, and then she ultimately kills the mafia guy. But I think he let himself to be stabbed. And then we get the end of her escaping half dead, barely been able to walk because she's been stabbed in the stomach, sliced up everywhere. And I just thought she would have died. She would have bled out. And then we get the the epilogue where she visits the grave of her dad one last time and sees John Pil-do's grave, and that's the end. Oh well, I tried to cover the 8 episodes in all of this, you know, as much as for what I can remember, like, you know, chronologically, because we get the beginning, she's at high school, flashbacks to the middle, she's there helping, you know, the mafia guy without knowing that the mafia leader went and tricked her. As I was saying, I tried to cover as much as I could for the series. I liked the series at the beginning. I think maybe they could have done 12 episodes, maybe fleshed out a little bit the relationship between her and like John Pildo, because it all seemed a little bit rushed, like out of nowhere, you know, Nights of Feelings. And as well, like with, I've seen many Korean shows, Korean K-dramas, Korean crime dramas, Korean thrillers, and they all tend up to, like, you know, not have the best endings. Did I like the ending? Did I feel like it resolved anything? It didn't resolve what happened to her, like, you know, only resolved like the chaos and the vengeance. And we could only infer that maybe she went back to her real name. Everybody knew her as Hye-jin. Maybe she went back to her real name, you know, Young-jin-woon. How would I rate this series? I would give it 4 out of 5. I think it's a good series. The actress, you know, really committed to the role. First time seeing, you know, a girl having to like get up to the levels of, you know, one of those real thrillers. Like I can compare it to The Raid. What else could I compare it to? A little bit police story-ish kind of aesthetics from Jackie Chan. But I do recommend the series for people to watch, because it's, you know, kind of really shows the realities as well of life, you know. It kind of shows how young people can get entrapped into the mafia, and the reason why people go into these things, because when they're alone, when they have nobody, that they get entrapped into it and they get sucked in. And sometimes, you know, there's the other part in the show where the captain of the narcotics team tried to find the daughter. He was there, but if only she opened up the door and asked who he was, like, because there's that scene also in there that after when her dad dies, like, he comes back to the apartment and she thinks that this guy is the killer initially. But it's like kind of like what if she opened up the door, what if she asked, what if she would have found things, maybe she would have never gone into the mafia. And, you know, so there's a lot of what ifs. The show does really show like why people go in and join groups, gangs, you know. It's because, you know, they're looking for a sense of community, stability, and it kind of shows the perils. It does show a raw peril, like when you want to get revenge, vengeance leaves destruction, it leaves casualties, other people, you know, take the hits. So I do think people should watch it. But anyway, thank you again for watching this video. I hope you guys like. Give a subscribe, you know, share the video maybe. And see ya!